It's that time of year again. Everybody's favorite time of year where all we care about is who put out the best list of music. Not not the best music in general, just whose list do we agree with the most because otherwise we're going to throw a fit. Just like every time, my list is going to be comprised of music that I really like this year as well as what I listen to a lot. So not necessarily what's technically the best, but a list of projects. And this time around, I've got 20. So let's get right into it. Starting at number 20, we have T. Carrier with Strength. It's been a very tough year for T, but through everything that he's been through, he's been persevering. He's been pushing his music, he's been pushing himself, and over this past year, he put out 4 projects, all very, very solid. Strength is the first of these 4, and I think, at least in my opinion, my favorite of the group. And yeah, it's just definitely a good project because you really get to see all the raw emotion that he puts on display and he just wears on his sleeve, and really kind of figure out how he's even able to push through some of the things that he's dealt with this year. Moving on to number 19, we have J. Cole with Might Delete Later. If we take 7 Minute Drill out of our minds, just forget that even happened, this was a decent project. Like, while this isn't something that I listen to often, I do appreciate a handful of tracks on it. I appreciate that he got some rapidy rappers on there. He got Daylight and Absol on a track, and he did okay. I still feel like Daylight and Absol did a much better job, and I kind of wish they had a better track there, but regardless, pretty solid album. But definitely not one of my, I wouldn't put it very high on my J. Cole list, is what I'm saying. I do like it though. At number 18, we have No Worries with Why Lord, which is Anderson .Paak and Knowledge. They have finally come back together with another No Worries project after what felt like forever, really. This time around, though, we get a different sound than what we kind of get from them in the past. Because, Anderson .Paak, as well as just, when he does stuff with No Worries, it tends to be more lighthearted, fun. This time around, it just sounded kind of somber. And, based off of the things that have happened to him and the things that he's going through, that could totally be it. I mean, he did just get a divorce, and, that puts people in a different state of mind. Although, there was a few songs on here that were recorded a couple of years ago, so who knows? But either way, it's nice to see Anderson .Paak go in a slightly different direction than what we're used to, because, so often it's just the happy stuff, but this, just like every other project from him, is Anderson .Paak talking about Anderson .Paak doing Anderson .Paak things. Moving on to number 17, we have Kevin Allen with Don't Overthink It. Kevin Allen, or as some of you may remember him as, Irk the Jerk, has been incredibly consistent in just the last few years that I've been really paying attention to him. And this project is no different. This project, though, does lean a little bit more towards that Irk side, so if you enjoyed him in your younger days, you'll probably like this continuation and evolution. While I do typically prefer Kev when he's just full on rapping, this was a good option as well, and I did enjoy it. It was kind of cool because there was a bunch of different sounds that we hear here, and he just kind of traveled through the eras, and it flowed very well. Number 16, MacArthur Maze with the Maze album. The fellas at MacArthur Maze just stay busy constantly between their constant live shows, giving back to the community, or just hosting events. Like, they have Maze Mondays, and that's been going on for a little while now. They just stay busy, and it's kind of hard to ignore them. This album, though, because we want to talk about the album, is their second project with production fully covered by Noble. And if you miss those days where you would hear crew cuts on a project that just go on with like 5 or 6 people, this is going to be what you want. This is a great return to that. Number 15, Vince Staples with Dark Times. Over the past few years, Vince Staples has been very consistent with his drops. Each of his recent projects have been fairly short on the shorter end, which for me really allows for quicker and easier consumption. Some people don't really like that. Some people really like it. I think for certain artists, it makes sense. And Vince is one of those people who he's going into a project with something in his mind, and he's just going to keep going and knock it out. And if it happens to be 10 tracks, so be it. He's not going to try to pad it out to make it longer just for streaming numbers or to make the label happy. Speaking of the label, this was his last project on Def Jam. And, it's interesting. I'm really curious to see where he's going to go next because, usually when you're stuck on a label, you have to do what they want you to do. But now that he's done that, and I mean, his show is really good. So hopefully we get more music and maybe it'll be different. Maybe it won't be. Just gotta wait and see. At number 14, we have Brother Ali and Unjust with Love and Service. Brother Ali holds a special place in my heart. While I may not always want to listen to him, his positivity and outlook shines a bright light through some dark times. With this collaboration with Unjust, we hear him rapping over just some wild beats, which are really just constructed from 70s cartoon or like television shows, I believe. It's weird. It's just weird, but it works out so well. So I'm glad to have that on repeat and play. At number 13, we have Grand National with the Grace mixtape. Now, this is technically a mixtape, but this is going to be Projects of the Year more so. But Grand National did their thing here. I wasn't a super big fan of how it was released through Even because, it's a mixtape. It didn't have an official release date. You had to listen to it on Even on the web at that time. But regardless, it's an enjoyable listen. Very similar to the Maze album where you have tracks with multiple people on it throughout the whole project. This carries that same sort of idea, but a different style, different sound to it, and really kind of showcases, well, that as well as the Maze album really showcase that the Bay Area has a lot of different sounds to it. So definitely take a look, listen to it. I think you'll enjoy it. At number 12, we have Ka with The Thief Next to Jesus. This album was the last project from Ka. And Ka was an interesting person in the sense that every one of his projects is kind of an intense listen. Like at the surface, okay, you have this huge concept and you're trying to break it down, but also everything that he raps about is, in my mind at least, incredibly personal to him. Like these are experiences that he himself has gone through and he has to process and deal with. But also it's for other people like him who have dealt with all those sorts of things. Ka, I mean, he's had to juggle his music career and his actual career for years. And, just with this project, I wish he was able to, really reap the fruits of it because this project really, it opened eyes to opened eyes of a lot of people to Ka. And yeah, it kind of sucks. That he's not here to kind of celebrate it. I know he had like a vinyl signing, and that was a whole big deal. And yeah, it's crazy. But regardless, this project, it's kind of crazy that it is his last one because it's so deeply rooted in Christianity and religion, and just his experience, but also just the Black experience in Christianity and where everything fits in. Like it's. Yeah. Rest in peace, Ka. At number 11, we have Mach-Hommy with Rich Ass Haitian. Mach-Hommy is an enigma. He is usually so quiet and to himself and private, but this project and this year seems to be the year that he kind of came out of his shell a little bit more. A lot of people really got to know Mach-Hommy. And that's through his interviews, his live show. Like he's done so much more than what he's normally doing. Like normally you never hear from him, but this time around, I guess something clicked. He's like, no, it's time to do this. And this project, yeah, he's found a way to really toe the line between being super lyrical, but also being able to make a good project. Which, if you remember, I have a hard time dealing with some artists who can't manage that. Like they either get too lyrical or they just sacrifice lyrics for the sake of making a catchy song or something that's fun to listen to. And Mach does a really good job of giving us a little bit of both. And I think it makes it a lot easier for a lot of people to get into his music as well, because, you don't want to just get beat over the head with lyrics all the time. But Mach is one of those people who he'll put it out there. He'll put it out there. Now we're in the top 10. And this top 10, as well as pretty much the entire list, can totally be reorganized, but these are the last top 10 albums that I really stuck with. And at number 10, we have Denzel Curry with King of the Mischievous South. Denzel Curry, he does this thing every few years where he'll spend a lot of time on an album. He'll build a concept, he'll build a world around it, and that'll be his main focus. And then he'll put that project out and it's going to be amazing. But then in between those projects, he has stuff that's a little bit more fun and maybe not as serious. And this is one of those projects. This project, like, it's just fun. It's fun to listen to. And Denzel's always on my album of the year list, and for good reason too. Each year he just keeps getting better. I know some people may look at this project and be like, oh, it's just like a compilation tape or a collab tape, and that's fine. I think that is what it is. It is meant to be a tape that has it's Denzel Curry and friends, basically. And each feature does a good job of being there. Like, there's a reason for it. It's not like he just like brought people on just to say he got them on. And yeah, I think that's important, and I think it makes it that much better. At number 9, we have Tyler the Creator with Chromacopia. This is actually one of those albums that I didn't listen to as much, but I did listen to a handful of times and really enjoyed what I got out of it. Tyler the Creator he's getting older, that just like everyone else, and Chromacopia takes us a bit deeper into his mind and his life and his world, where, you know, he's kind of showing us what point in life he's at. He's like reflecting on all the things that he's done, all the things that he's been through, and where he's at currently, which, you know, as a basic description sounds incredibly boring, but Tyler the Creator does it in such a fun way. And he also does a good job of bringing in other ideas and sounds to it while he's doing that. I mean, this is an album that you really do need to listen to properly understand what's going on. Like, yes, you can listen to it just in the background and, you know, get your fun songs out of the way. But once you actually buckle down and try to pay attention to what he's saying, it's so much better. At number 8, we have Lupe Fiasco with Samurai. Lupe Fiasco made an album about Amy Winehouse if she were to be a battle rapper in Japan. The concept sounds crazy, but it works really well. And this concept came up from a voicemail that she had left Salam Remy, and Lupe just ran with it. He's like, you know what if she was a battle rapper in Japan? And, you know, Lupe does a really good job in general, I feel, where he can make songs and albums where, yes, they're lyrical, yes, there's multiple entendres, but also makes it interesting enough for people to listen to and just throw on. And this is one of those projects where he has a concept, but it's not like beating you over the head with it. Like, you know, there's some, most of his albums in the past, like Tetsuo and Youth, Drogas, like those albums, they have deep concepts to them, but, you know, sometimes you can get lost in it and not really pay attention to the music. Like, those overtake the music in terms of importance and just, you know, physically being there. But this time around, like, yeah, you can listen to pretty much any of these songs on their own and still get a good song out of it. And then, you know, if you happen to figure out, oh yeah, no, this is about Amy Winehouse as a battle rapper, it kind of all clicks. Like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. This is exactly what it was. At number 7, we have Rhapsody with Please Don't Cry. It feels like many albums from artists that we haven't really heard from in a few years have become somewhat of a therapy album, possibly following in the same footsteps as Mr. Morale did. We got that with Tyler's album, we got that with Schoolboy Q's album, and we get it with Rhapsody's album. Please Don't Cry it just takes us through all the things that she has been dealing with and trying to understand through the last few years. Like, I mean, we don't know exactly all the things that she's gone through over the past 5 years between projects, but it sounds like it's been rough. And Rhapsody takes us through every bit of it as we're listening to her therapy sessions, essentially. And yeah, it's just the fact that she's willing and ready to share with us, I appreciate. At number 6, we have Angry Black Men with The Legend of ABM. This kind of marked a return and almost fresh start for Angry Black Men. It's been a little while since we've really heard from them, and I'm glad that they have returned. Angry Black Men properly toe the line of industrial rap, where we're gonna get some noises, kind of like Death Grips, clipping, JPEG Mafia, but just like JPEG Mafia, actually bring in a lot of more accessible sounds, and they do it very well. This duo also does a really good job of really catching us up to what's been going on in their lives since we last heard from them. If you haven't gotten a chance to see them live, definitely do so. It's great. At number 5, we're in the top 5 now. We have Kendrick Lamar with GNX. This shouldn't be a surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise that the album is this high up on the list. Kendrick has had an amazing year, and this project is a great capstone to everything that he's done. This album is super West Coast and does showcase a lot of newer Southern California artists, and he does it well. I am curious though to what he's going to do next. It's, this album, from what I can tell, was mostly recorded in this year, kind of going over some of the things that he's accomplished, some of the things that he's dealt with, some of the beef, all of that. But what would we have gotten if he had a little bit more time to work on it? Or was this album intended to be just a, hey, this is happening, let's do it in the moment sort of thing? You don't know until Kendrick says so. And while this album doesn't really have any major overarching concepts or narratives that he's trying to convey to us, like pretty much all of his other projects have, I think it still does really well to tie everything together without also giving us extra bloat. Like, it's not that long of an album. Like the track length, track durations, like it all works well. Number 4, we have Doechii with Alligator Bites Never Heal. Doechii has also been having a great year. With her mixtape, Alligator Bites Never Heal, we really get to learn more about her. Like, yeah, she's been getting popularity or been getting more attention over the past few years just with, some of her major hits. This album though, or mixtape, really tells us what else we need to know about her. We get rapping, we get lyrics, we get singing. There's so much to Doechii as an artist that I'm glad we got to hear this. I don't know that I went into it with the highest expectations, but as I started listening to it and as I saw other people's reactions, I'm like, no, this is the album that I've been waiting for almost. Like, this is such a good project. I'm really curious though to see what happens next, because mixtapes are often going to be what the artist actually wants to do. And my understanding of this project is Doechii just kind of said, hey, I'm putting out a mixtape. And TDE was like, what? Okay, sure. And just kind of went with it. But, oftentimes with labels, they're like, hey, this one thing did really well. Let's only do that for all your other albums. And I kind of hope that doesn't happen. But, given the attention that she's getting on this project, I think they'll be a little more flexible. At number 3, we have Ab-Soul with Soul Burger. Ab-Soul is really back. I was sure that after his last album, it would be a little while since we heard from him again, but I guess not, because we heard him on Conway the Machine's album. We heard him on J. Cole's album. I think he was on a TF album too. Like, he's just been everywhere, and it's great. But if you were to ask Ab-Soul, this project wouldn't be considered an Ab-Soul project. This would be a Soul Burger project. It's just its whole own thing. And, that makes sense. This album is dedicated to Dough Burger, of course. And Soul, he channels him well throughout. And, this is definitely not necessarily like what you would expect from Ab-Soul, but I think it's kind of a more accessible Ab-Soul project than some of the other things that he's put out. Like, yeah, Herbert was good, but that was more of a let's catch up, let's see where I've been through a lot of shit. Now this is like, okay, Soul's just in a completely different mindset. He's ready to rap and he's just going crazy with it. Beyond that too though, this album also pays homage to a handful of hip hop moments. We have the intro with 9 Mile, which is obviously an 8 Mile nod, and then there's a quick sample switch to Mobb Deep, and it's so good. It's such a good way to start an album. Yeah, I'm just excited to hear what else is in store for him. At number 2, we have JPEG Mafia with I Lay Down My Life For You. JPEG Mafia promised us an album last year, and we didn't get it. And that's okay, because I Lay Down My Life For You was well worth the wait. I was a little apprehensive at first because, he was doing stuff with Kanye earlier in the year. And, the singles weren't anything that I really gravitated towards at first. But as I listened to the album, those singles made a lot more sense. This project also shows a lot of growth for Peggy in both music and in life. He's gotten a lot more, he's gotten a lot better at production in general. Like, his production's great here. And it's just, he's pulling so many different sounds throughout. But also on this project, he gets a little more vulnerable, which for Peggy doesn't seem too common. Like, he has his moments, but like, this is kind of all throughout the project. But yeah, he's been mastering his craft, just putting together a cohesive project. And this is mostly due to the sequencing too. Like, everything flows really well as an album. Sometimes, you'll listen to older, like Veteran, like, yeah, there's a sequencing to it, but it just kind of feels all smashed together almost. This flows really well. And like, you have the more aggressive sounds at the very top, and it starts to kind of dwindle down till it becomes something more like holy sounding almost by the end. But yeah, great album. And at number 1, it really should be no surprise to anybody at this point. Schoolboy Q, Blue Lips. This album, I've been listening to this album since it came out, I think March 1st, or end of February. It's been on repeat just constantly since then. And it's just so good. Like, I've been talking about it to everybody. But everything about this album is great. And it follows the same sort of idea as Rhapsody and Tyler did, where it's really just let's catch you guys up to what I'm doing at this point in my life. Like, this is very much this is Schoolboy Q at this specific moment in his life. Like, we don't hear too much about stuff from the past, but he does tie it in well. And this is kind of what I've expected or been expecting from Schoolboy Q at this point. Like, he raps well. He brings out bangers, even though he's not as young as he used to be. Like, he used to go crazy with all those bangers when he was younger. But now, like, it's a little bit more calmed down. But, we have tracks like Back in Love and Yearn 101 where, tracks are crazy. But then we also have a lot more mellow tracks and stuff that's a little more introspective, like Blue Slides and Germany 86. But yeah, it's just such a good project all the way through. And if you haven't listened to it, just go do it. It's well worth it. But yeah, that's what I've got. It's been a busy year. There's been a lot of music. It was hard to narrow it down even to 20. There's been so many people putting out music. It's just crazy. I've been busy with stuff locally, so music or videos haven't been happening as much, but we're going to fix that. Hopefully this coming year we have more music to check out. And yeah, let me know what you guys think of this list. If you think 20 is too many, if you think GNX should be way higher or shouldn't even be on the list, let me know in the comments below. And while you are down there, like and subscribe to see more rambling and content like this. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe out there.